Hello and good afternoon. We hope you are all well, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on Tarachi Gold Corp. My name is Jacob Willoughby, and I'm a Vice President of Research and Analyst at Cloud Securities Inc. Joining me remotely today is Cameron Tymstra, CEO, and Lorne Warner, VP Exploration and Director of Tarachi. We'll begin today's webinar with a presentation on the company by Lorne and Cameron, followed by a question and answer period. As a reminder, you can type in your questions at any time, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. But before we begin, I'd like to know that there may be some forward-looking statements made in this webinar, and I would direct listeners to the cautionary notes on page 2 of Tarachi's corporate presentation, which is located on their website. For Cloud Securities Incorporated, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. Also, we note that this webinar does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Company-specific disclosures for Cloud are the following. In the last 12 months preceding the date of issuance of the research report or recommendation, Cloud Securities Incorporated has been retained under a service advisory agreement by the issuer. And now I'm very happy to introduce to you Cameron Tymstra, CEO, and Lorne Warner, VP of Exploration of Tarachi Gold.
Thank you, Jacob. It's great to be here. This is going to be the first webinar for me with Cloud, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to start off going through some of our recent corporate changes that we've announced over the last couple of weeks. Highlighting a few things of the company, and then Lorne is going to follow me up with some of the recent drilling that we've been doing down in Mexico and some of the highlights that we've been discovering down there. So just the usual. I know Jacob, you already mentioned this, but I will be making some forward-looking statements for this presentation. So please do go ahead and give this a read on our website when you have a chance or when you have trouble falling asleep. And now just getting into it, the two main things I want to highlight today, Jacob. Number one is we're really transforming Tarachi Gold right now. Part of that big transformation has been a big shift in our management team. For the past year or so, Lorne has been doing a great job in the CEO role. But Tarachi's been growing really quickly over just the last 6 months. We've acquired some new projects down in Mexico, not only exploration projects, but also a potentially near-term producing asset that we're finishing the acquisition of right now. And so to share in those corporate responsibilities, the board brought me on board to help alleviate Lorne a little bit, since he was previously in the role of both president and CEO, but essentially also serving already as VP Exploration, managing our projects down in Mexico. So I've come on board to help Lorne out a little bit. My background is in mining engineering. I've operated in the US and Canada and Latin America. In particular, I've worked on projects that are tailings recovery projects, which is what this new Magistral project is that's coming into Tarachi. In addition to myself, we also have a new chairman. That new chairman is Michael Connert. He's also president and CEO of Vizsla Resources, which is another Mexican exploration company. They're focusing on silver in Mexico. They've been very successful this past year down there. He's also a founding partner of Inventa Capital. And he's already very familiar with the Tarachi project, so we're very fortunate to have him on our board. As well, we also have a new CFO, Mahesh. Mahesh has over 20 years of experience as a CPA. Most of those years have been spent in junior mining companies, including companies operating in Mexico. So also very, very happy to have him on board with us and working on our Mexican projects. We're already very well financed. We have about $8 million still in the till to date. That's from some money that we raised earlier this year. We were using that money so far to finance our projects down in Mexico, our drilling on our Tarachi claims that Lorne is going to talk about a little later. So we've got a great new team in here. Lorne, of course, is still on board as our VP Exploration. And now in addition to our corporate restructuring, we also have a new very exciting asset that we're in the process of acquiring. We announced the LOI of this asset back in October. This is our Magistral tailings plant project. This project really has the ability to transform Tarachi from just a gold exploration project company to a potentially near-term producing company. This project has a tailings resource on it, as well as a permitted 1,000-ton per day plant. So we're really excited to get our hands on this project. We're really just in the home stretch right now of finalizing the purchase agreement of that project, which will look pretty similar to what our LOI was announced back in October. This is located in Durango State, in the north end of the state there. It is highway accessible. It is close to a couple towns where we have access to a skilled labor force. And we've already retained Ausenco Engineering to initiate an update on the preliminary economic assessment once we finish the acquisition of this project. So in addition to that, we also have our very exciting high-grade and highly prospective Tarachi Project. It's over 3,700 hectares. Lorne is going to give you some more details on that later. We've already initiated a drill program. You've probably seen some of our drill results already come out earlier this month from there. We're very excited about those results. We have several holes pending assays as well at the lab that we should get before Christmas. So the company is really changing right now, and we've got a lot lined up for 2021. So I'm going to provide you guys a little bit on our capital structure here. We've got just over 60 million shares outstanding and about $8 million of cash in the bank. I wish we had $80 million. You can see we've had a bit of a stock price pullback over the last 6 months, but that's pretty typical for the rest of the industry. I mean, both the GDX and GDXJ pulled back about 20% or so. We've seen a lot more pullback in the junior sector. So we've been consolidating around the 34, 35 cent mark for the past couple of months. And with a lot of milestones and news coming out early in the new year, we expect to see some positive action in that department. Now, I want to look a little bit more closely at the Magistral del Oro Acquisition. This is the one, again, that we announced back in October, located in Durango State. There's a non-43-101 compliant historic resource on these tailings. It's 1.3 million tons at over a grade of over 2 grams per ton gold. So these are very much high-grade tailings. Most tailings recuperation operations typically deal with tailings with a grade of only about 1 gram per ton. We have double that, so we're very excited about these resources. Again, it's located off of a paved highway. I think just 5 kilometers south, there's a town with over 5,000 people in it. So we definitely have access to a skilled labor pool there. And mining, this is a very historic mining region. They've been mining in this area for hundreds of years, so certainly a rich history there. And again, this is not only just a tailings resource, but also a mill. And that mill is permitted. There's also a new tailings pond there that's been permitted. And this is a deal that we're doing with Manto Resources down in Mexico. So this project really has the possibility to transform Tarachi into a near-term gold producer, really elevating us above the rest of the exploration sector and really giving us the ability to fund the development on our own projects without having to raise more capital in the markets. Here's a picture here of the plant. It was originally constructed, I believe, in 2014 as a carbon and leach circuit, and it was originally custom built to process the tailings. They did have the initial operators did have some issues. There is some copper contained in the tailings that was, interfering with their carbon capture process. So they did try to convert it to a Merrill-Crowe process in 2018, but shut down the project. We've engaged Ausenco Engineering. They're going to be doing an extensive sampling program and an extensive metallurgical testing program on these tailings to ensure that the plan that we put in place at Magistral is the right plan, the plan that will achieve our recovery goals and our cash production goals. These tailings are in an area where there's been mining since the 1600s. This significant production that generated these tailings dates back to about 1890 and into the early 1900s. Originally, they were using mercury amalgamation to capture the gold and later flotation. That's why there's still a lot of gold remaining in these tailings for us. Again, that non-historic or that historic non-compliant 43-101 resource is about 1.3 million tons at over 2 grams per ton gold, which we estimate contains somewhere in the ballpark of around 87,000 ounces of gold. As you can see there in the bottom left is where also we have the over here is our the new tailings pond that's been permitted. Obviously, it's not big enough to contain all the tailings, but one of the strategies that we might employ is probably using some of the area that we excavate in the tailings to put in our own tailings as well. And I've worked on some of these tailings projects in the past, and that's what we did. We'd usually, once we've excavated one area of the tailings, we use that area to deposit the fresh tailings that we're producing to limit the amount of capital that we have to spend on expanding tailings ponds for our own tailings production. So we're really excited about this asset. We're in the process of just closing the purchase agreement now. We're working hard to try to finish that before Christmas. I can't guarantee that we'll have it done before Christmas, but if we don't, certainly it'll be something that'll be completed first thing in the new year. Once we have that completed, we'll be able to really hit the ground running in 2021 with Ausenco going down first to take a bunch of samples, which will not only confirm the historic resource, but also provide the material samples that we need to conduct a very extensive metallurgical test work in order to redesign the plant to achieve the levels of recovery of at least 70% gold that we're interested in here. And given the level of resource that's there and the 1,000 ton per day size of the mill, we do expect to be producing over 1,000 ounces a month once this is in production, at costs that are definitely below $1,000 per ounce we'd expect. So we're really looking at this as a cash flowing asset that's going to transform the company and provide cash for us to not only explore our Tarachi gold claims, but also to potentially chase after bigger and better projects down in Mexico. Now, Lauren's going to jump on here and just give you a bit of an overview of our Tarachi projects and the drilling that we have on down in Mexico right now.
Thank you, Cameron. So, yes, now I get to do what I really like to do, and that's geology. And we have some pretty interesting concessions down in Mexico that we've been working on for some time now. We've started work on these in the summertime, doing some detailed geological mapping, structural mapping as well, and some good sampling. Historic results from our work that we had posted this summer, for example, where we came up with about 6.34 grams per ton gold over 62.55 meters in Habala, which is one of our concessions you can see in the very southeast corner. That's very close to the Mulatos mine, which is just to the east, about 6 kilometers. We've been doing a lot of work there, trying to decipher exactly what's going on geologically. And from that sampling and our geological work, we've been drilling there since start of September. Drilling's been very slow, but that's because we want certain things done, and it's like drilling glass. So right now we've released also some drill hole assay data in the last few weeks, last month, that have also been very encouraging. We're starting to really put that project together, and we're very happy with what's been going on through there. To the north, in the northwest portion of the trend there, we have 3 concessions there. Right now we have a diamond drill working on the San Javier. Again, it's been actually doing very well. We're on hole 7. We just started drilling less than a month ago up there. Drilling's been going fast, and no assays back yet, but we're quite happy with what we see right now. All these concessions are located in the belt in Sonora, which has been known to be prolific in gold. I mean, over 80 million ounces of gold has been produced so far, or is in resources and reserves. This whole area, almost 1.5 billion ounces of silver. So this is why we're here, and this is in the same area where these deposits occur that are all the same sort of high sulfidation epithermal gold deposits. And we're right on trend, and what we're seeing so far is we've been very happy with what we've seen. We're looking not necessarily in these deposits for lower grade bulk tonnage, but actually more structurally controlled, higher grade gold mineralization. And so far, we've been pretty happy with what we've seen. Just as I was explaining, we can see that on the Tarachi North, here's the map on the left side. Shows some of the drill holes that we've completed to date. On the right side, here's a photograph of some of our recent core. It's brecciated, but the matrix, as you can see through there, it's very fine grained. But some of the areas we're actually getting quite extensive mineralization, up to 30 to 40% pyrite. Different forms of pyrite, and this is in the area where we predicted that we might be encountering some of the high-grade gold mineralization that was previously found in this area by drilling years ago. One of those intercepts in the past, for example, was 34.5 grams over 5 meters. We are drilling in that area, and again, we're still waiting for assays. Assays were coming at us fairly quickly before. People are getting busier down in Mexico, so labs are getting more like the Canadian labs, where it's taking 4 to 6 weeks to get your results. To the south, in the Lidura project, where we've been doing a lot of work this summer, and where we came up and I described to you that channel sample, which is shown on the right side of the slide, where we had the 6.34 grams over 62.55 meters. We did a lot of work on that. And the reason we did that channel sample, cut quick saws all underground, because the area is notorious for diamond drilling and getting poor core recoveries. So we channel sampled. Here's the results that we were able to obtain from that. And then we put our diamond drill underground, and we've been drilling HQ with the purpose of trying to increase core recoveries. Like I say, it was slow because our first few holes, we were not getting the recoveries we expected, so just abandon, restart again, keep working with the drillers, keep trying to figure out ways to get that better core recovery. And finally, on the slide, on the left side of the slide, you can see holes 4, 5, and 6. Those are our holes. That's the assays that were released right now that we have so far in the project. And it's very interesting in terms of when we sampled this area, it's brecciated quartz veins trending east-west with a very steep south dip. But now with our drilling, you can see that we actually have probably a panel approximately, let's say, 25 to 30 meters in true thickness, plunging to the south. And that, the correlation to the gold from our drill hole so far indicate that. So within that panel, we probably have these east-west structures dipping steep to the south. And again, this complication is probably one of the reasons why historically people in the past working in this area were not able to figure out what's going on with the mineralization. A lot of drill holes missed because if you're just above or below or drilling at a different orientations, which a lot of them were, you would not been able to find this zone. So this really encouraging for us. And on top of that, as we were drilling our last drill hole number 6 to the south, we're encountering additional mineralization to the south. So maybe there is more happening as we proceed to the south. So pretty exciting for us. We're still drilling there right now. We've got both our drills turning. We're going to keep going. And then from that, we're looking at going to in January, getting back to drilling and looking at what we can do. Here in particular, we may actually consider doing some reverse circulation drilling on surface to the south to see how these zones occur as an exploration stage to look and see how far these zones may extend. So just to recap, so from June 1st to about the 15th, we did a lot of geological mapping, sampling. This is right here, it shows you where we had the saws underground, trying to get exactly, good recoveries, see exactly what the grades are underground, so we can compare that to, as we diamond drilling, what to expect, knowing that in the past, historically, there was significant issues in trying to get gold grades because of your core recoveries. And since then, we started drilling down here in Lidura, and we're now on hole 7. And about a month ago, we started drilling further north up in the other project, San Javier. We're actually on hole 7 on that one now too. We're very excited what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of mineralization, including a lot of semi-massive to massive sulfide replacement zones that we weren't expecting. So we're waiting for those assays to show up because it was very interesting. We'll just see what we get when those assays show up. Cameron, leave it back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Lorne. That was a great update. Really exciting stuff coming out of Mexico down there, and I'm really looking forward to the results that we should expect in the next couple of weeks and into the new year. Just looking at some of our competitors here, I really think Tarachi is an undervalued story right now, particularly with the new Magistral asset coming into our portfolio soon. It really has potential to transform us into a cash-generating company, a business that can self-fund its own exploration, its own development of other projects. I think that really makes it stand out amongst our peers. So right now, we have a market cap of only around $20 million, I think, today. This should have been updated on there. We only got $8 million in the bank right now. So very low enterprise value for a company that is expected to produce cash in the near term. So just going over some of the highlights of Tarachi here that we mentioned today. We're well financed. We've got a great team behind us, not only in-house at Tarachi, but through some of our backers at Invent Capital, who are there to support us through marketing and IR and raising money and things like that. I think the venture capital team has raised over $100 million just in the past year. So it's great to have access to them and access to that capital if we need it in the future. We've got an exciting land package that Lorne just talked about, over 3,700 hectares, and in an area that's really sort of the land of giants. I mean, we're close to Alamos Gold's Muatos mine. You can see that from one of our properties. We're on trend with La India, which is an agnico-eagle mine, as well as we're right next door to another agnico-eagle deposit, actually named Tarachi as well. So we're definitely in the right zone. We've got great geology. We've got great results so far, and we're well financed to continue exploring that land package. In addition with this, again, this Magistral asset that we have coming into our portfolio here, we're very, very excited about what that can do in transforming the company and really elevating us to that next step of junior gold producer. Ausenco Engineering, incredible engineering firm, world-renowned. We're going to be working very closely with them in the new year. As soon as we get this purchase agreement finalized, they're going to be off to the races and down to Mexico taking samples for us and initiating that metallurgical test work. The PEA that they're doing, we would expect to have that completed in sort of a 3 to 4 month period from the time that they actually get down there to take samples. So if they can get down there mid to end of January, we'd expect to have that work completed probably in the early spring, somewhere around April, something like that. And then once we have that information, we'll be able to provide a clearer picture, a more concrete timeline in terms of how long it's going to take us to bring that asset into production. But that should be generating cash flow, in the near term for us, and that's going to be great for the company. And then in addition to those projects, we're always on the lookout for growing Tarachi. Once we complete the Magistral acquisition, we're going to be on the lookout for even bigger and better assets in Mexico. Assets that would ideally be further along the development pipeline, something with, at a minimum, a 43-101 compliant resource on it, something obviously in gold. Ideally, it would also have a PEA or a pre-feasibility level study already completed. We really want a bigger asset, something that we can deploy the cash generated from Magistral on to further advance it towards definitive feasibility and eventually production, and grow our company that way. So look out for that in the new year. We don't have our hands on anything yet, but once we finish Magistral, we're definitely going to be looking for bigger and better assets, and we really have like a growth strategy in mind for Tarachi Gold. So a lot of exciting things happening for the company right now. We have a lot of news flow expected, both from our Tarachi claims as well as from the Magistral asset once we complete that purchase. So a lot of milestones as well coming up in the new year. And we would expect those milestones, that news flow, to translate into really into positive catalysts for the Tarachi stock price. So please, thanks for listening to us today. Jacob, let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to chat. And here's some contact info for Lorne and for Richard, for anybody else that has questions later as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Already a couple of questions from participants. First one, wondering if you have any consideration about listing on the TSXV.
Not at this time. I mean, we're still a very small company, but that's certainly something that we'll be looking into in the new year, particularly if we do end up acquiring a bigger asset and are growing the company. I think that would be a positive step for us as well. More exposure to more investors, especially international investors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another question from a participant about Magistral. Of course, wondering what is the best case timing on when it could be producing?
Well, I don't want to speculate too much because, again, we haven't had that PEA work done on there yet. But assuming it takes us 3 to 4 months to do that, assuming we can get down there in January to start taking samples, it really depends on what the ultimate flow sheet looks like for the asset. There is an existing plant there, but it will need some modifications. And the choices that we have for that will be a trade-off between capital cost, gold recovery, operational complexity, and also timeline to production. So if we go with a more simple route that perhaps doesn't require as many additions to the plant, then we'd be looking at a shorter timeline. If it's something that we want to add in some more equipment, there's more lead time for things like that to purchase them and get them delivered into Mexico and installed, perhaps a little longer. I could speculate and say that the optimistic scenario would be gold production by this time next year. That's what I would like to see. But again, that will really depend on the results of the PEA, and we expect those in the spring.
Right. So really, it's subject to the metallurgical results that Ausenco is going to get, and then from there you can decide what exactly the flow sheet's going to look like, what you might want to add, what you need, what you don't need, and then how much it's going to cost, and when you can get everything there and get it all assembled, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, for projects like this, there's usually a number of avenues you can go to. Like I said, I've worked on a few tailings projects before, and it is really important to get the metallurgy right because, I mean, this is material that somebody else has already gone through and taken out the low-hanging fruit, if you will. I mean, sure, though they were using sort of mercury amalgamation and lower tech techniques like that. And we do plan on using a cyanide leaching process for this. But, it's going to be a trade-off between, do we want to go for that few extra percentage points of recovery at the expense of maybe delaying the project or increasing the level of complexity? We are a small company that doesn't have any other producing assets at this time. So we will be training probably a new workforce and relying heavily on contractors down in Mexico to provide us with the services and operation of the facility. So we do probably want to limit the complexity as much as possible, but at the same time, make sure that we extract as much value as we can from those tailings.
Mm-hmm. And I think I remember hearing that there is potentially other tailings within, a reasonable distance from the plant that might be available to you.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, with the existing resource that's there now, which we estimate to be somewhere in the ballpark about 1.3 million tons, that should provide feed for our mill for a period of about 4 years. After that time, we're still going to own the mill. It's still going to be a great asset to have down there. There's been mining in that area for hundreds of years. So there's definitely potential to find other feed sources for the mill, whether that be other tailings that are in the area or potentially even virgin ore from mining concessions in the area from those high-grade veins that were historically mined. We certainly don't have those mining concessions at this time, but that's something over the next couple of years that we'll be looking into as potential to extend the life of the asset.
Right. And do you have at all at this point internally any kind of idea of how much capital might be required to change or upgrade the plant to make it suitable for your needs?
Yeah, it'll be on the order of a couple $1 million. Again, the specifics of that will really depend on what options we choose for the mill in terms of the processing options. Do we need to bring in a lot more new equipment, or can we just make do with what's there with some minor adjustments? So that will vary the capital significantly, but it will be on the order of at least a couple $1 million.
Right. I mean, it puts you in a very enviable position because you have a fair bit of cash. You have basically two projects going that you're drilling, and then this other one that has the potential, if things go very well, in about 12 months time to actually start producing some gold.
Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting year for us. And I think that's what really is going to set us apart from other companies is the fact that we have this near-term cash flow coming in. Traditionally for our companies, it's pass the hat around every year to collect money to fund drilling campaigns. And it would be great once we can be in a position where we're funding that ourselves. And given the cash that we already have in the bank, we're pretty comfortable with being able to continue funding our exploration right now, as well as the acquisition of Magistral and the engineering work and things like that into the new year. So I think we're in a great position to start 2021.
Yeah, one of the things I hear from some of the people we talk to is that there's not a lot of people who know the story yet. And hopefully, that's where Red Cloud can help get the name out and get people to learn about the story, because I think there's certainly a lot going for it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very young company. It's really just from earlier this year, these assets in the company have really come together, and really just the last couple of weeks where we finished kind of putting together the full management team for Tarachi Gold. So we'll definitely be, in non-COVID times, I'd probably be on the road significantly leading up the next couple of months, but we definitely have a lot of virtual roadshows, I guess, planned for the new year.
And when you talk about the potential for bringing in other assets and even bigger assets, I assume you're thinking maybe restricting it to Mexico, or are you looking farther afield than that?
Yeah, we're very much a Mexico-focused business. One of our strong assets that I did mention earlier is really the network of partners and professionals that we have in Mexico that work with us. And through those strong relationships, it really gives us some leverage in finding projects that maybe other companies don't get to see, opportunities that aren't available to everybody out there. So through leveraging our relationships down in Mexico, since that's one of our strengths, we would like to lean on those strengths and continue looking for projects in Mexico.
And that's sort of how Magistral came to you guys, was through your extended network of people in Mexico?
Yeah, through Lorne and through our Mexican partners who are always on the lookout for projects for us. They made that opportunity available for us.
Great. And we hope that gets sewed up, even before Christmas. But if it doesn't, I'm sure it'll be done very, very early in January.
Yeah, we would definitely. It would be great if we could sign on the dotted line and all of that before everybody breaks for the Christmas holidays, both here and down in Mexico as well. But since we made the announcement in October, since this project is really important to our company and since it really has the potential to transform Tarachi, we're really making sure we do our due diligence on the project, both here in Canada as well as down in Mexico. So our legal counsel here and our legal experts down in Mexico are, making sure everything is in order and the ownership is in place, and as well doing a bit of preliminary review in terms of engineering on the asset itself as well to make sure that it is the right asset for the company.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very exciting times for the company. That exhausts all of our questions for the time today. But I'd like to thank you both very much for being available and thank everyone for participating with us today. I'll just quickly mention that our next webinar is on Wednesday. That is with First Cobalt. It'll be at 2 p.m., hosted by Derek McPherson, and include the president and CEO of First Cobalt, Trent Mell. And stay safe, happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing more from Tarachi in the new year.
Thank you, Jacob. You as well.
Thank you, Jacob.